Hi, this is a completely unscripted video of how I actually pack while shooting travel content while traveling with my family. It's a bit mess. This is a completely raw, unscripted video, but I just want to share, the gear and the prep that I actually go to. Now, all the gear that you're trying to see here is completely bought by me, by my own coin. None of it is actually sponsored, although I'd love to be sponsored. But, this is actually in a way sponsored by y'all because you're actually viewing the video, you're trying to subscribe to it and share it with your friends and family so that more people can watch this video and I can get monetized on YouTube, right? Having said that, as a preliminary disclaimer, the last part of it is that I've actually accumulated this care over 3.5-4 years. So when you're starting, you do not start with this much amount of care. You can just start off very, very simple with just your phone and maybe a tripod, or at least just your phone. But yeah, over a period of time, let me tell you, once you start making travel content, whether it's for your personal use or for sharing with your near and dear friends, family, or put it on actually socials, you will start accumulating gear. It's a very, very common thing that will actually happen to people. It's rarely that someone does not accumulate gear once they start doing, travel and food content. Typically when you travel, you try to document even the food you're taking because the food sometimes looks so awesome that, you cannot walk away from actually taking good pictures and photos of it and try to post it on social media. So let me start off with, showing what I have for filming point of view. So I have majorly 1 and 2, and that's from PGY Tech. So this is basically clamps on to any of the shoulder bag that you're wearing, whether it's a sling bag or a shoulder bag. And there's a base plate that would actually come out from this, and you can actually put your camera either on your sling strap or on your shoulder strap of the type of bags that you're trying to carry. So I always take this, and this normally has, it's a DJI Action 4 with circular polarized filter from Neewer. Bought it from Amazon. You can see the links below in the description. You can use that. Those are affiliate links. Just want to let you know. So I will get a kickback, but then there is no additional cost here. And just to show you what I'm filming on, I'm actually filming on my Pixel 8, supported by a tripod like of Manfrotto B-Free actually on the back. It's not even mounted on a tripod, to be honest. That's how simple I'm making this video, because to be honest with you, I got to pack a lot and it's pretty late in the night. I'm going to leave in another 4.5-5 hours. So yeah, so this is one from PGY Tech. Yes, I'm not sponsored by PGY Tech, but I've bought a lot of gear from them, including the bags I use. Reason being is I love their gear. They're pretty simple, very, very functional. That's the key operative word. They're functional and of a decent price, if you ask me. The second thing is this interesting contraption around the neck that I can just put it across the neck, and then I can slide in using this particular adapter a mobile phone just like this. This is a fun part. And then I wish everyone gave me these kind of clamps, but okay, so this is the clamp for my iPhone 15 Pro, and then this would just go ahead and actually lock it in there, and it'll start making point of view content. So it can either shoot straight or it can shoot down and multiple angles and all of that. I can tighten it up, I can actually loosen it and do all that. So the link for this also is there below, and just press a button, it will just pop up, and this is, it comes out. So I can use this and put an DJI Action 4 there, or I can actually go ahead and use my DJI Action 4 on my clamp. Most of the time it stays on the clamp, and my phone is the one that does the point of view actually on the neck. So let me just remove that. And this is all part of the PGY Tech's cap lock system, if I'm saying it right. And this is just a harness to keep it a little bit comfortable around the neck. The third one is this one. This is like a Mantis pod from PGY Tech. I bought it very recently, and still the unboxing video is not out. I mean, it's going to come in a couple of weeks, but I really like it. You can just open this up on the legs on both the sides, and I can have in this configuration even support my A6700 or the ZV-E10M2, which I'm going to take along with me on this trip, and the new Canon PowerShot V1. There will be a comparison video between the Canon PowerShot V1, the 22.3 megapixel 1.4 inch sensor of this one, and the 26 megapixel ZV-E10M2. Please do subscribe to see that video. Okay, cheers. And obviously when I'm going on a travel trip and I know that I cannot take a lot of cameras, although I've been blessed to have a lot of them, and my wife is not really that happy with that, but this is my A6700, and this is something that I would actually whip out to take stills in case I'm not able to take them by my ZV-E10M2, or for some reason I want to shoot 4K 120 frames per second, super smooth. It's basically hosting a Sigma 18 to 50 millimeter f2.8 lens on it. Permanently stays on my A6700, and I always carry this highly underrated lens from Sony. If any one of you is actually using Sony E-mount and you have either full frame or an APS-C, I would recommend to definitely invest your around 250 to 260 Australian and buy this lens, which is the 55 to 210 millimeters lens. Although it's an APS-C lens, with clear zoom on a full frame, you can obviously use it. But most importantly, it's an optical steady shot. It's f4.5 to 6.3. So most of the times when you're shooting, at 210 millimeters, a bird or something, you don't want to be at f2.8. You want to be at 6.3 or typically at f8, so that you can capture even the background, all of it together. Or even if you're doing a simple landscape photography, it's preferable to do somewhere around f8 and f11 and not actually at f2 or f4. In fact, even f6 is a bit too much. But this is a very versatile lens. It can zoom out, zoom back in, and I always try to have this in my bag, irrespective of the Sony camera that I'm actually carrying, because in a pinch, if I'm not actually happy either with my prime or the zoom lens, I can just put this in, zoom in, and start recording, rather than trying to crib that, oh, this is all the shot that I actually have. So that's there. Now, the reason that I actually bought this was for this one, the little Osmo, the Pocket Wonder that's been called these days. Obviously, it has a cap lock mount underneath it, permanently mounted, so I can, at any quick time that I want to actually put that, all I have to do is just lock it in, and then that's there. You just turn it on, it's actually on, and then you can start filming it. Now, in terms of frame rates, I always try to have my Osmo Pocket 3 on 50 frames per second. Okay, so, and sometimes I actually have it zoomed in and sometimes I have it not zoomed in. So this is 20 millimeters roughly full frame equivalent, and I always have a K&F Concepts neutral density 8 filter. It's a fixed neutral density, but it also has a polarizer as part of it. So that's a little bit kicker of it. Subscribe to see some upcoming sample videos, but this is how I normally run it as a configuration. And when I'm actually done with it, this actually is shut off, see, and all I have to do is press a button, remove it, this gets stored, and this gets stored. And finally, what do I have? Yeah, I carry always a DJI Neo with me to take some cool perspective shots. Now, if I know a particular space legally allows you to fly drones and take, videos and all of that, then I might take my DJI Mini 3 Pro, but normally I don't take it on every trip. I only take it on a trip where I know for sure 100% that I'm able to fly my drone, or I know for sure that there are very heavy winds out there, and flying at heavy winds, this is not useful. You can see teeny tiny motors. This is more indoor, outdoor, a little bit just on a street kind of thing. So then I'll actually take my DJI Mini 3 Pro. Otherwise, that just stays in the house. So that covers the cameras and the mounts that I actually normally take. For audio, by default, I take my DJI Mic Mini. I used to earlier take my DJI Mic 1 or DJI Mic, but I fall in love with the Mini just because of its compact size, and I love the pouch. And then, obviously, to power all of these, some kind of batteries are needed. So that's a power bank that I actually take, normally of 20,000 milliamp hours. And I take a backup power bank of around 5,000 milliamp hours with me, always. Now, if I'm getting into a flight, I always check with the airlines, their airlines rules and the airports and the flying destination, airport and regulations to see how much of these batteries that I can actually carry. Otherwise, by default, when I'm carrying two Sony E-mount cameras, the ZV-E10M2 and an A6700, I always carry a backup of 2 fully charged batteries with me. Always charge them one night before fully, and then as part of my routine, I would just put them empty. Irrespective of what battery was there before inside, I'm just going to put them in. Sometimes I have to check, what's the battery level there on it. Like for this, it's already 99%. So I now might hesitate to put in, but otherwise, normally, it would be actually there, 2 batteries in. So this is the older one. So I'm going to just put it for charge. So in the morning, I can actually grab it. But my default workflow is if I am carrying either 1 or 2 Sony cameras, I'll always have at least 2 batteries with me. Not because I'll need it, but just in case I've filmed so much that I need it, then I actually have one. Having said that, in terms of memory cards, I just have SanDisk memory cards, micro SD cards in my Action 4 and in my Pocket 3. both of them. I do have a SanDisk regular SD card of around 128 gigs. So all of them are 128 gigs to be straightforward and not get confused. Hey, how much amount of memory I have in one? No, nothing. These are all 128. This is only not an extreme one. It's just an ultra one SD card, but the rest of all are SanDisk Extreme Pro 128 GB. That's what it is. For my A6700, because this is where I would love to shoot on 4K 120 frames per second, I actually have a V90 card. Put it up money, bought the Samsung Tough card, that also V90 for 128 GB. That's it, man. Some are actually bitter pills. When you have gear like this, you will end up, as I was saying before, accumulating gear, and sometimes these gears could be really expensive. Kid, you're not paying $200 for just a memory card. Unbelievable. But then once I have this in my A6700, I need not ever worry about either photos not getting written properly into my memory card, or having issues with my memory card, or shooting 4K 120 frames per second, 4K 60, 4K 50, or 4K 25, or 4K 100, because I'm in PAL region, Australia, so it's basically 100, 50, and 25. But if I want, I can always flip and select 4K 120 frames per second. So yeah, that's my pet peeve or a pep talk on memory cards, and I'll be doing at some point of time in the future memory card guide for all the Sony cameras which are actually out there with respect to their frame rates and all of that. So yeah, in terms of usage and how am I going to film and everything, right? Most of my time lapses are actually filmed on my DJI Action 4. So this is always there for time lapse. Sometimes I'll actually shoot a video on it, but predominantly it's actually on a time lapse. This actually comes out just to get a unique perspective or something funny, or sometimes just to keep my kids entertained. This is a very good investment for entertainment of kids. I actually found it keeps both the boys actually a bit entertained when I just keep flying this. So I have the Osmo Pocket 3 always on 4K 50 frames per second, ready to shoot that regular video a bit crisp if I'm using it 50 frames per second, or always I can actually do a slow-mo. My Sony ZV-E10M2 Mark II is always actually at 24 frames per second by default, and then if needed I actually bump it up to 50, but otherwise it's just most of the times capturing video in 24 frames per second. My A6700, the flick switch on this, just like a Canon PowerShot V1, or where I can flick between photo and video, right? And all my settings would change. For the dial, so on the dial I have 1, 2, 3. So my default configuration, hang on a minute. If you're interested to know the default configuration that you need to have to optimize an A6700, as usual, subscribe to my YouTube channel and you will see that in one of the upcoming videos. It's getting filmed currently, so some of the B-rolls are actually pending for it to finish. But normally I have 3 different frame rates in 1, 2, 3, and that's how I actually manage. What else? Yeah, most important thing, my mobile phone always only shoots on 4K 25 frames per second. Simple. And 90% of the time it actually shoots in auto exposure and in auto settings. I do not fiddle with it. Okay, all I do is touch the screen so that it can actually refocus or re-expose and everything and start continue recording. The least amount of variations you keep across your gear is that simple when you're taking the video. Now, taking so many amount of cameras, which by the way I forgot, for the Canon PowerShot V1, I've still not decided what frame rate of video I'm going to do on it, because this is pretty new when I'm shooting this video. So after going on this trip, I'll actually decide whether this will be on 25 or 50. Those are the only 2 options. There is a full HD with 100 frames per second, and when I shoot a sample video of this, I'm going to share it on social media. Look out for it. But then I'm a bit undecided, because apart from the frame rate, the other thing that basically pushes me to use a particular camera at a particular frame rate is because of the battery life it can actually serve, and at the same time the kind of file it's trying to generate and it's manageable to me or not. Most importantly, it's about image. I did take some full HD 1080p images on my Action 2 and my Osmo Pocket 2. They're cool, but then you can't scale them, you cannot play with them a lot because they're very much restricted in terms of image quality. So unless I really am happy with image quality, I do not push full HD or 1080p, either you want to call it, and 120 frames per second. But normally I would stick to 4K 25 or 4K 50. That's it. Sometimes I would shoot 24, 30 and 60 frames per second. That has become a little bit rare now. See, the more camera gear you're having, you gotta keep some kind of a commonality between the gear. You got to keep some kind of a sanity in terms of settings with you, because if you keep changing configurations in across your gear, you'll actually forget it. And end of the day, when you're filming travel content, your whole objective is to capture that moment, that place, that story out there, that memory out there, rather than sitting and fiddling around with settings. Yeah, I mean, this is all it is. And finally, before I forget, there are 3 lights that I take with me as what you call backup lights. That's this one from Neewer. It's called, hang on a second, let me just figure out. Yeah, this is called RGB62. I always like RGB lights rather than just bicolor lights. And my latest 2 that I bought, these are the Neewer TL96 RGB. So these 2 are TL96 RGBs, and this is RGB62. So I think they have a difference in power. Obviously, that's the reason they have a difference in it. So this is always configured to be in cool light, and this is always configured to be in warm light, 2500 Kelvin. And this sometimes allows me to create some cinematic modes or effects or impact, or get a tinge of my own flavor about the content that I'm trying to shoot. Sometimes they are actually overpowered by the sun, so can't do much about it. But wherever it's actually possible, try to use it. Yeah, they're especially very convenient if you'd like to create impromptu videos, or you're vlogging, or in the night you're actually sitting in your caravan, your hotel, wherever you're actually or in a camp, and trying to record videos. So very, very discreet, simple, good battery based lights. And finally, 2 things that I actually carry for my wife, not for me but for my wife, because she loves using them. One is the Osmo Pocket 6. I'm not really sure whether I should upgrade to 7P or not. I'm still thinking about it. This is the Osmo Pocket 6. There is no charge in it. That's the reason you don't see any chime. And her latest acquisition, the Insta360 Flow 2 Pro. We got this especially for the tracking that is there in it, using the Deep Track 4.0. This is charged, but I'm still going to charge it and keep it at 100%. So we have a full charge for tomorrow's filming. So these are all the gimbals, and these are all the, equipment, cameras, tripods, and all of that we actually carry with us, and the drone and lighting. Now, there is a DJI Mini, which I actually carry in some rare situations. I only take my DJI Mini when I'm sure that I'm going to use my A6700 and actually film some cinematic shots, some slow-mo shots predominantly. And I have actually a lot of time to film it, because the other thing that we need to remember while filming travel content is a lot of times you may not have enough time or time frame or a time slot in your hand with you that you can actually use gear or set up gear and actually film it. Most of the times, at least for me, this has been my experience shooting travel videos, both for personal. Recently I've started shooting a little bit professional for a few content creators, and also for myself, is that you have to shoot in the moment, and whatever is available at that moment in terms of camera gear or tripod or anything like that, you have to use that, make a decision very quickly and start shooting. If you say, hang on a second, okay, for example, say you're actually moving around in a zoo, okay, you see a tiger there that is getting fed. Now if you say, hang on, caretaker at the zoo, I'm going to set up my DJI Mini with an A6700, balance my gimbal, all of that, or I'm going to whip out my DJI Mini in front of everyone, a crowd of whatever, 10, 20, 50, put it out like this and say, oh, I want to take video in this, and all of you got to move, or you have to redo the act. It's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. You'll get very, very few videos. If you can do always on this, let me know. You're a unicorn in the world of travel filming, and I would love to learn from you. Okay, if you know someone who does that, please do comment below. I will learn from them. But my personal experience is you don't have time to set up. So only areas where I actually have time or the flexibility and I know I can actually set up is where I take my DJI RS3 Mini. Typically this happens when I'm going on a long trip, more than 3 days or 4 days. That's when this comes out. Otherwise, this beautiful fellow just sits in my house on the floor. That's it. Along with its big brother RS3, I have the RS3 to do kind of a professional filming. RS3 a bit too much for travel, Anyway, having said that, I hope you have actually enjoyed this impromptu video. If you see a lot of mess behind me across, it's okay, This is how my arena is. I'm not going to apologize for it, because I've seen some content creators apologizing for the mess. But sorry, I can't do that. It's not because I don't respect y'all. It's just that because, this is the natural state of how things are with me. What's the point in me actually, trying to show you an alternate reality? I'm just showing you my life's reality. That's it. Okay, so that basically ends the video. Always remember, shoot with the thing that's there in your hand, or always have settings that allow you to shoot immediately. When I say shoot, I mean to say film. And until the next video, take care, stay safe, happy filming.